Imagine one day you're just living your normal life and suddenly the earth blows up. Only a small portion survives, including you. You move to Mars, bam, a new planet to inhabit and survive on. But only a day passes and bam, Mars blows up. Only a very small amount of people survive, including you. You survivors are lost in space, drifting endlessly. Is this it? Is this really where it all ends? But then you see a distant abyss of space. Another planet with a strange island. You decide to move here. You discover a fresh new island full of greenlands, farms, cities and towns. Perfection. Bliss. A new home. We could survive here forever. Start anew and live on a peaceful life. Meteors strike the island, cubes invade and steal your grandmas. An ice storm covers the island, a volcano erupts, a giant monster and robot battle, and time itself crumbles apart. So it turns out the Chapter 1 map was not so inhabitable after all, but this goes for literally every single Fortnite map ever seen in the game. And this just made me think that the Fortnite map is always just constantly being destroyed over its evolution, and I've just thought about people really living there. Think about how long a population could really live on a Fortnite map. Yet by that stupid intro and the title of this video, you probably know what I'm doing right now. I am going to be ranking every Fortnite map by how long a population could survive. Basically, I'm going to cover each map, set a colored area, and slowly over time, it gets covered by red, which will represent changes or threats. By the end, it's going to show how much really survived over time, and I'll be ranking them in order by what I think survived the best. So here's a basic breakdown of what I'm going to do. So each map is going to be covered green depending if it's safe, and on the Chapter 1 map, it's completely safe pretty much, but let's say that there's an invasion area. So let's say an invasion area happens over here. This would be considered a threat area, and anyone that lives here would be dead. Basically, by the end, to judge it, I'm gonna see how much green area is left. So this will show how many survivors there are and how long they lasted. So yeah, pretty much we're just gonna see the progression between each map, and I think this will actually be pretty fun. I want to actually know how much green area will be left. And yeah, let's get right into it. Alright, so first of all, I'm doing with some Clip Studio Paint, because this is an easy way to show progression. But anyways, the Season 1 map of Chapter 1 is, I think, the safest Fortnite map can be. It is plain, pure, of like farms and towns. It's just where the whole thing started, so of course it's going to be basic and pretty safe. Also, quick clarification, if some people think this, I'm not judging every map, like each season. I'm going to do the entire progression throughout each chapter. So I have to do all 10 seasons of Chapter 1 and there will be one single rank. Alright, so in Season 2, I don't think anything dangerous happened at all. All they got changed was new locations and they aren't like harmful in any way. So I would consider this completely safe still. Now the same thing applies for Season 3. I think that all that got added for new locations was Lucky Landing, which is actually kind of crazy now that I think about it. Now this is a completely different story for Season 4, because this is when the meteor crashed into the island. So I've marked out all the dangerous locations that Season 4 brought in with the meteor, and it's nothing too crazy. The only big impact is of course Dusty Divot, but then you got the small areas like the craters around and the small impact onto the towers. But yep, Season 4, that's pretty much it for this. Man, all those poor like 2 people living in Dusty Depot have just been obliterated. For Season 5, there's actually a lot more recovery than destruction, I'd say. But I've created a new zone that are orange, and this means it's hazardous but not completely dangerous. So Dusty Divot, as you can see, has like healed quite a lot. It's probably much safer. And then all the craters gone, like completely gone, even till the towers is recovered, so that goes back to green. But I've kept it orange because I'd imagine there's like still after effects of unsafe stuff. But I've also just made the desert in general orange because I feel like a desert isn't the safest thing in the world. It's a lot more hazardous, I'd say. Dangerous environments. But then I've let the buildings itself and like racetrack be safe because there are buildings that you can keep yourself contained in. For Season 6, there's actually quite a lot more damage compared to anything we've had so far, with Kevin the Cube obviously causing a lot of destruction. He's corrupted several areas over here with ruins, and Loot Lake is completely unsafe. I don't think anyone will be living here with a floating island and a cube shooting lightning. I actually forgot to mark out Tomato Temple, and I put it as pretty unsafe, but you could probably live here. It's just a fact there's a tomato head cult that lives there. That's pretty much it for Season 6 though. Okay, Season 7 has a lot more damage than the last one. Season 6's damage didn't last very long at all, as the loot lake restored again and all the corruption disappeared. But Season 7 brings in a huge new problem. When people think of Fortnite Season 7 and Chapter 1, they think of the most festive, beautiful time with snow, Winterfest, and of course, that's exactly what it was like to us. But if you really think about a population living here, I don't think this would exactly be all that good for them. You know, to us it's all a nice festive Christmas time, but to them it's a literal iceberg making a huge impact on the island they live on. I don't think the general population of this island would appreciate a giant iceberg crashing into the island. It also brings in cold, which is not great. But yes, Season 7 has done considerable damage, and this will not go away because, as you know, this stays pretty much the entire season. Yeah, not pretty much, it does. With Season 8, it just brings even more danger because the jungle arrived. Now, the jungle seems like a pretty vibey place, but if we're thinking in the minds of a population, this is an invasion with pirates and more danger with the prisoner, so this isn't ideal for their survival. There are pirates lurking everywhere in here, and you got the prisoners faction here with hybrids, and there's lava, it's a volcano. It's just not good. Also, I've outlined the block as unsafe-ish because there was previously the motel here and it's just been crushed, so I wouldn't say it's the safest thing in the world. Now for Season 9, there's like pretty much nothing changed except for the vault area. I'd say the vault is kind of unsafe because it's not exactly a place you want to be around because it's a huge energy source. But other than that, the new Neo Tilted and Mega Mall, are completely safe. Alright, now we're into the final season of Chapter 1, and this one is quite interesting. This is when all the rift zones came in, and obviously off the bat, Tilted Towers was changed twice. I believe it was Tilted Town and then finally Gotham City. Gotham City is just instantly a red zone. There's just supervillains lurking everywhere. Then we have the vault at Loot Lake, which is when the 0 point was exposed. So this is, I'd say, a very dangerous POI because time is distorting in there. You got the remains of a monster. I'd say this would remain toxic for a while or something like that. The meteor is obviously a huge threat, so it's already around this general area. Greasy Grove came back, which is good. That makes it a green area. I think this area was like their one empty space with all those consumables like hop rocks and all that. I'd say it's not a good zone to be in. It seems unstable. And that's all for Season X. So after all that, Chapter 1's total survival based on the colors wasn't actually that bad. The population definitely has a lot of useful things like parks, depots, towns, and they still have a farm, although they lost Anarchy Acres. A lot of areas have become dangerous and unsafe. So looking at the tier list, I would lean this between good survival and okay survival, but I think it's mostly good survival. There is still a lot of useful things left, and most of the land survived. I'd say half of it did, which is pretty solid for a Fortnite map. So that's what I'm going to put it at. Now we bring ourselves into Fortnite Chapter 2, and I think this island is the ideal kind of place you'd want for a proper civilization, because it kind of has everything. Take a quick look here. We have plenty of towns. We've got Misty Meadows, Lazy Lake, Retail Row, Pleasant Park, Sweaty Sands. There's a lot of nice places you could live in. They have a really nice farm. It's pretty big too, and even got a power plant for energy and electricity. Although it's keeping the cube, I wouldn't say it's that safe, but to be honest, I'm just gonna say it's safe because I'm guessing it powers the island in some way. And you've just got water everywhere. It's just kind of the ideal place out of every Fortnite map I think you'd want to live in. But let's see how much longer this goes on for Chapter 2, because as we know, Chapter 2 changed a lot near the end. But anyways, yeah, all of Chapter 2 is a green zone to me. I don't see any hazards or anything off the bat. The only thing I would consider is steamy stacks, but of course it's probably a power source for the island, so it's not really dangerous. Now going into Season 2, this is when the spies came out of nowhere and pretty much invaded the island, and there was a little war between them, which I would say is pretty bad for the people living here, because they would have taken over several places. So the Shark, Agency, Rig, Grotto, and the Yacht have taken over in Season 2. I've marked each one red because they obviously are threats to people living here. The population can mostly survive if they just stay in their homes, they'll be fine. Yeah, Season 3 is pretty much wiped over half of the population on this map, I'd say. Let's be realistic, a tsunami is 100% going to kill a large amount of people who live on an island. Guaranteed that anyone in the waters perished. They did not survive. And there's just more threats, to be honest. They got Fortilla, there's a new faction here. Same for the Authority in Katy Corner. So it's not really getting any better. Because of how drastic this map change is, I'm just gonna leave this all these areas you see red as red for the entire rest of Chapter 2. Because it's already such a huge impact, and if we're accounting for how much damage it's done, I think I should leave it to show. Okay, so in Season 4 the flood went away, but I'm just keeping these areas red to show how much damage it would have caused to the people living here, and how much it would have decreased the population. But basically, Season 4 with Marvel coming in, Stark Industries arrived, and I'd say this huge landmass probably crushed a lot of lives. So I would leave this green, I guess, but next season there'll be a red circle to show that whoever was living there is now dead, because they've just been crushed by Iron Man. But other than that, the rest of it isn't too bad. In Coral Castle, I'm just going to keep it red because I don't imagine anyone's going to be there after the flood. Now quickly, definitely people will start to move back into these red zones, but again, I'm just going to keep it red to show the damage. Now in Season 5, it just continues to get even worse. So I've marked out where the Stark Industries was as orange because it's now kind of dangerous, since a huge landmass just landed on it and probably wiped out some people. And the new sand biome with a 0 point is definitely not going to be safe, especially with all those like reality warriors or something like that Jones bringing in to protect it. It's just not going to be good because anyone living there is going to get killed off because they're trying to protect the 0 point, right? And Stealthy Stronghold I've marked out as red because the Predator lives there. So and yeah, Chapter 2 is just looking really rough right now. There's like very few left alive. So in the best season of Chapter 2 Primal, a new biome started spreading around, which was actually fairly dangerous because it had wolves and it was more primitive kind of era. Now in Chapter 2 Season 7, nothing really changed for this, and in general there wasn't really many map changes, and the only thing I needed to add was an orange zone for this alien spot. I have gotten rid of a primal biome because it's reverted back to normal, so it'd be back to safe. Now you might be wondering, like, why didn't I just keep it just like I did for the flood? Well, the flood was something extremely significant, so I just put it back for the prime one because it's not much of a big deal. In Cubed, this is where things really start to go out of hand because this is when the cubes finally returned and invaded, so it's caused a lot of corruption and damage to the island, which is not good for the population at all. So a lot of the green is just starting to fade away. And if you remember at the end of the season, this map got completely corrupted, like almost the entire map. So this is going to have some interesting results. Yeah, the Chapter 2 map is just completely eradicated, to be honest. There's like probably very little survivors. This would be a terrible time. Now out of these three options, I think it's safe to say that Chapter 2 was pretty much wiped out by the end. Yeah, so Chapter 2 is definitely at the bottom of its ranking so far. And I have a feeling it's going to stay that way because I don't think any map has had that much drastic change. Now we move on to Fortnite Chapter 3, and this island I'd say isn't far off from Chapter 2's like good start. Chapter 3's got a more livable desert that didn't come out from nowhere. Tilted Towers comes out, a lumberyard, more towns. And the 7 is here protecting the island, I'd say, but we know for long that can't last because the IO arrived. But yeah, this just stays green, to be honest. And every map so far has stayed green in the first season. In Season 2, the war between the IO and 7 happens, so there's obviously going to be some like hazardous changes. And I've done this final stage of Season 2. These are obviously the attacks from the IO, but I wouldn't say this would be too impactful because they pretty much missed all the places where people live. But they're probably going to go away in the next one because it wasn't too crazy, except for Tilted Towers. And then obviously we've got the main command cabin here and the fortress. Also the Collider is a very big threat that arrived that was going to destroy the map. I'd say all you need to do in this is just hide in a house, in any place, and you'll be good. Just hide away from the IO, keep away from the war, and you'll survive. Now Fortnite Season 3 Vibin was supposed to be a chill season, so there isn't really anything bad going on. I've decided to keep the red because I need to show that some people probably died in the war, but literally everything else is good. This season was called Vibin, so I'm pretty sure it's pretty safe. Now we're in Season 4 and this is where it all goes downhill. It was like completely safe pretty much last time, and now it looks pretty bad. This is kind of similar with the cube corruption, but instead it's chrome. This is when the chrome invaded in the season, obviously. And it actually caused a lot of damage. And the people living here definitely perished. There is very little places they can even live now. There's of course like the floating places, but I'd say it's still not safe. So I put it as orange. It's not very safe anymore. This biome is very unsafe now after it died. And no, I am not counting end events for this. Like, of course, no one's gonna survive a black hole, a map flipping, an island exploding. So from there, I would definitely say that Chapter 3 would be pretty much wiped out. There's like nowhere you could really live, and the people would probably like suffer and starve. Anything with corruption is just guaranteed gone. Now we're here at Fortnite Chapter 4, and this one is pretty interesting because for the first time this one starts off with it not being completely green. Now this is just opinion based, but I think that this ice biome wouldn't be a great place you'd want to live, like a habitat, because it's always cold and you have all this option out here, so I think we know the better choice. It's actually a really big farm with a lot of crops. I've marked out this area as orange because it's nearby the main fruit, which is the Ageless or Geno. I don't think the Citadel would be safe to be around because he's a boss here, obviously. I'd say this is still relatively safe. You just want to stay in the green. That's basically it. Now we move on to Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 2, and this one honestly receives no danger at all. At all. This is the introduction of the Japanese biome with Mega City, and this was honestly pretty safe. There was nothing bad about it. I think I need to mark out a little bit of orange because, as we know, this crushed a huge portion of the island. Alright, I've just marked out like this area around the edges. I think we gotta put a little bit of orange because we've seen Little Whip being crushed by Mega City itself, and that's about it for this season. Now in Fortnite Wilds, one of the greatest seasons of all time, the jungle arrived, which did open up a huge gap on the map, and this is not good for our scenario. This kind of happens unexpectedly, I'm pretty sure, so a lot of people would have died, and it's just not a safe area at all. I mean, it's deep down in the jungle, you don't know if there's raptors, unknown ruins, traps. You don't want to live down here pretty much. The jungle didn't really get rid of much important things, although there's people living in there and it would still be bad for the population. They didn't really get rid of many towns, like Anvil Square is only one, but we still got Mega City, Clappy Shores, and all the other stuff here. So it could have been worse, but it's still a big portion of the population that would have been pulled off the map. Alright, now we enter the last season of Chapter 4, a low-key underrated season, which is Last Resort. It was like the second spy season we've seen. These new locations are very luxurious, but we all know they're actually threats to the island with Kato Fawn, so this isn't good for the population living on this map. But yeah, this wasn't actually too bad, I'll be honest. If you're just chilling on the farm of a large city, Kenjutsu Crossing, Slappy Shores, you'll be fine, to be honest. So coming back to the tier list for Chapter 4, I actually might just put it in good survival because I think it's better than okay, to be honest, because to be honest, it's pretty close to Chapter 1's kind of survival. I mean, it's got a farm, cities, I mean like parks and stuff, and this also has like farms and like cities, so I think this is also a good survival. Here we are at Chapter 5, and to be honest, this map isn't too bad. I mean, you've got good POIs like Pleasant Piazza, nice town, got Hazy Hillside. The only problems is that there are 5 locations which are big threats to the population. Each location is heavily guarded. I mean, you've got Peter Griffin with a shotgun roaming around here, so unfortunately the farm, the only farm here, is being guarded, so you can't really get good crops there, but overall, it could be worse right now. You could just chill in one of these locations here, out here, and you'll be fine. Into Season 2, the Greek Mythology season, we have the introduction of 2 new biomes, and they were both pretty dangerous if we're thinking about the population. So we have Hades living here, the underworld god, so I don't think you want to be around here, plus the water doesn't look like a place you'd want to swim in. We've also got Grim Gate, which is like guarded by Cerberus, so overall you do not want to be here. And kind of same for Mount Olympus. Zeus was the biggest threat to this season as he wanted to destroy all the mortals here. So yeah, the 2 of those are definitely going in the red zone, and anyone living there previously is gone. Now for Season 3, it's in its name, wrecked. Completely wrecked the map, pretty much. I mean, anyone living here before is just not gonna survive, I'm sorry. After the desert arriving, I'd imagine a big portion of the population would have gone down, and just like a good chunk of the island has just become a dangerous desert because, as we know, a Megalodon was ruling it and he wanted to like destroy the island or whatever. There was just so many cars driving around with turrets on them. It was like an apocalypse zone, so anyone living here is guaranteed dead, but anyone in the green should be fine. In absolute doom for Season 4, more of the map was just overtaken by another faction, which was Doom himself. The Raft just completely replaced Pleasant Piazza. Now 3 new Doom locations have arrived and were all heavily guarded. They don't necessarily attack unless you provoke them, but it's still a place you just wouldn't want to live. You risk your life pretty much. But I'm just gonna say this map was heavily attacked in many ways. So I'm just gonna say this sort of made a lot of people fall off from the population. Not a great outcome. Alright, continuing off the tier list, and actually for the last fully completed chapter, I was gonna put it in okay survival, But if you're being realistic here, this is pretty much wiped out. A large amount of the island is completely covered. It just isn't in good condition anymore. So I think that just makes sense. It's actually probably worse than Chapter 3 actually. But you know what, now I'm thinking about it, I think Chapter 1 might belong here more because time was really falling apart near the end. And I don't think it just has good conditions you'd want to live in. And finally, we are actually going to do Chapter 6. I know the chapter isn't completed, but I thought I might as well just do the first season. There isn't anything inherently dangerous except for obviously the demons on the map that have invaded. So that's all we kind of have to worry about. Honestly, I was going to say you could stay safe if you just avoided these locations. But then I remembered the demons actually spawn all over the map. So you might have some like here. It's pretty bad. If the population was living here, I'm sure they'd just find like secret bases, like try isolate away from the demons or something and try and end them. But honestly, it would be quite a dangerous place to live around if there are just demons roaming around. So finally for the tier list, I want to say that it's actually okay survival for now. If I was doing like a full chapter breakdown for Chapter 6, I would probably put the first season in good survival. But since I'm only doing one map, and considering we see demons like roaming all over this map, I think okay survival is about right. So yeah, definitely a very different video of mine. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and let me know your opinions on these rankings and what you would actually do in these situations maybe, and maybe what you would rank them. Maybe mine is completely weird. Anyways, I do hope you enjoyed this very different video of mine, and like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I would appreciate it. We're trying to hit 50k by the end of 2025. And also use my code REFFORCOMICS in the Fortnite item shop if you're planning to buy anything. I would appreciate it. And I'll see you guys all in the next video.